A seat that half the NASCAR garage assumed was about to change hands just got locked shut. For months, everyone was talking about who takes over the Kyle Busch legacy ride at Richard Childress Racing. One name kept surfacing above the rest. And on Friday morning, that name pulled himself completely off the board with 3 words that ended the entire conversation. Noah Gragson is staying put. Front Row Motorsports has re-signed him to drive the number 44 through 2027, with team options that could push the deal even longer. That means Richard Childress Racing is out of the running for the driver who was, for weeks, considered the front runner for their vacant Cup seat. Gragson's 2026 season on paper hasn't been pretty. 31st in points, 1 top 10 finish across 23 races, a contract that was set to expire with no long-term security attached. And yet, FRM just bet on him anyway. To understand why this extension is such a big deal, you have to understand why RCR was circling him in the first place, and it wasn't just chatter. Bass Pro Shops founder Johnny Morris has backed Gragson financially since early in his career, and Morris also happens to be one of RCR's primary sponsors. When your biggest backer is also bankrolling the team that's hiring, that's not a rumor, that's a real pipeline. Add to that Gragson's history racing for teams affiliated with RCR in the lower series, and the fit looked almost inevitable from the outside. Then there's the persona. Dale Earnhardt Jr. himself pointed out that Gragson's edge, the willingness to rattle cages, race with an attitude, and generate storylines made him a stylistic match for the void Kyle Busch left behind. NASCAR has always needed a villain fans love to hate, and Gragson fits that mold better than almost anyone currently in the Cup garage. So why didn't it happen? The answer is buried in Gragson's season, and it has almost nothing to do with his talent behind the wheel. His crew chief during his strongest stretch with Stewart-Haas in 2024, Drew Blickensderfer, got promoted this year to Front Row's competition director. That left Gragson paired with Grant Hutchins, a crew chief, calling his first full season at the Cup level. The chemistry never clicked. 23 races, 1 top 10. But look closer at the results and a different story emerges. 9th at Talladega, 11th at Daytona. Running inside the top 15 for most of the race at Iowa before a late race strategy call derailed him. This isn't a driver who lost his edge. This is a driver stuck in a mismatched pairing, still flashing the speed that made him a name in the first place. Here's where this gets genuinely interesting from a strategic standpoint. Front Row Motorsports didn't just retain a driver with an underwhelming stat. They retained a driver they clearly believe was failing because of circumstance, not capability. That's a calculated bet. If they pair Gragson with the right crew chief going forward, this extension could look like a steal in hindsight. But there's real risk baked into this decision too. Sponsors and fans read box scores, not internal explanations. A driver with 1 top 10 in 23 starts doesn't exactly sell itself to outside partners, and FRM is now on the hook for multiple additional seasons of results before this bet fully pays off. If the chemistry issues persist into 2027, this stops being a smart, patient move and starts becoming a very public risk. On the RCR side, this actually simplifies their decision-making rather than complicating it. Austin Hill has already been driving the number 33 car since Kyle Busch's passing, and he's handled an emotionally loaded situation with restraint and professionalism. He knows the RCR system inside and out. He already carries sponsor backing, and now that Gragson is off the market and Jesse Love has jumped to Wood Brothers Racing to replace Josh Berry, Hill is effectively the last man standing for that seat. That's not RCR settling. That's RCR ending up with arguably the cleanest, lowest risk option available, the driver already embedded in the organization, racing alongside Austin Dillon in what's shaping up to be a very stable 2027 lineup. The ripple effect lands in the lower series, with Hill expected to move up permanently and Love now gone to Wood Brothers. RCR has 2 open developmental seats to fill in their O'Reilly Series program. Expect that pipeline to become one of the more closely watched storylines heading into next season. Expect a split reaction here. Gragson's loyal fan base will see this as vindication proof that the team believes in him even when the numbers haven't cooperated. They'll point to Talladega, Daytona, and Iowa as evidence the talent never left. Critics and skeptics will push back hard. 1 top 10 in 23 races is 1 top 10 in 23 races, and no amount of context changes what shows up in the standings. Some analysts will call this a loyalty move dressed up as strategy. On the RCR side, expect a quieter but more approving reaction. Fans who wanted stability over drama will likely see Austin Hill's presumed promotion as the safe, sensible outcome, even if it lacks the star power of a Gragson arrival. Best case, Front Row fixes the crew chief chemistry. Gragson rediscovers the form that made him a name at Stewart-Haas. In this extension, age is like one of the smartest retention moves of the season. RCR, meanwhile, gets a seamless, drama-free transition with Austin Hill stepping into a full-time Cup role and immediately delivering results alongside Austin Dillon. Worst case, the struggles continue into 2027. FRM finds itself locked into a multi-year deal with a driver who can't climb out of the bottom third of the standings, and the pressure to justify this extension only intensifies. On RCR's side, if Hill stumbles in his first full season carrying the full weight of that legacy seat, the pressure to find outside help could resurface almost immediately. So here's the real question. Did Front Row Motorsports just make a smart, patient bet on a driver who was never the problem? Or did loyalty just override the numbers? Drop your take in the comments. Is Gragson still a top 10 caliber Cup driver with the right team behind him, or has that window already closed? If you want to stay ahead of every major NASCAR silly season story before it breaks, hit subscribe. This is exactly the kind of storyline we'll be tracking all the way into 2027.